The battle over some of the most beautiful public spaces in Boston and the light of day. At issue are two laws dating back to the 90s, which ban new buildings from casting excessive shadows over the Boston Common and the public garden. As Adam Riley reports, some urban dwellers are fighting a project seeking an exemption from this rule.
Boston Common and the public garden have felt like an urban paradise lately, packed with sun-starved Bostonians luxuriating in the unseasonable warmth. But as Liz Visa, the head of the Friends of the Public Garden, takes in all the activity, she senses darkness gathering.
It would come across right here.
And it would so there'd be a band of shadow running down here.
Yeah, crossing into the garden and then through the garden and into the mall when it's the longest shadow.
Visa is talking about shadows from a building that still doesn't exist, 115 Winthrop Square, a 700-plus foot skyscraper planned for a site that's currently an old city-owned parking garage. As things stand now, the project would break two state laws, passed in the early 1990s, that require shadows from most new construction to leave the common and public garden by 7 a.m., or the end of the first hour of sunlight, whichever comes later.
It's out of compliance 2/3 of the year on the common and 1/3 of the year in the garden. At the greatest extent, it leaves the common at 9:30 and the garden at 7:30.
But 115 Winthrop Square can still be built legally if Mayor Marty Walsh files a home rule petition, the city council passes it, and the legislature approves. Visa thinks that would be a big mistake, and not just because of the long shadow this one new building would cast.
Once we say yes to this one, it would be wonderful to think that this is the end and we could close the door. It's really not that simple. It really does become a precedent for the next developer, the next mayor.
But Brian Golden, the head of the Boston Planning and Development Agency, insists that's not something Visa and other advocates need to worry about.
And let's face it, the political process associated with achieving this relief, we're still not there. That process is extraordinarily difficult, and it's a huge disincentive to attempting this in the future.
As Golden tells it, 115 Winthrop Square is a unique chance to get massive public benefit for minimal cost. On the one hand, a bit more early morning shadow. On the other, $153 million in sales revenue that will be pumped right back into worthwhile priorities, including the city's parks, which will get about $70 million.
This mass of investment is utterly unprecedented, and all those hundreds of thousands of people who annually visit those parks and benefit from them will certainly appreciate it.
Throw in new money for affordable housing and a boost to downtown vibrancy, and Golden believes the project should be a no-brainer.
This is a once in a multi-generational opportunity.
For what it's worth, that excitement hasn't trickled down to the people we spoke with on the Common. We found a bit of support.
I think a shadow or two is really not a big deal.
And a lot more skepticism.
When it's warm here, it's really beautiful, and any sunshine makes it a little warmer.
I come for sun, not for shadows.
Hey, Adam, good to see you. You know, they're fighting over how much shade there is now.
Right.
But my understanding is the only analysis has been done by the developer. So how do we know that the shade is not far worse than what they're saying?
That is correct, and we don't know that. The developer gave the city their analysis. The city's been using it. The Friends of the Public Garden are having their own independent assessment, and they expect it to be finished in a few weeks, so we'll see what that has to say.
What happens if the legislature says no to this thing? Marty Walsh is happy, Brian Golden is happy, they're moving ahead. What happens when the legislature says no?
The legislature or the city council said no. They need to renegotiate with Millennium, and they would need to renegotiate big time because it's a $150 million deal, $153 million. So that's $100 million for land and $50 million to come from condo sales. The most expensive condos are the ones that are going to be built way, way up high. So if this gets dropped significantly in height, the city will get a lot less.
You know, I saw your original script. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, I think,
and you had Brian Golden also saying, for the past 20 years, this hasn't been attempted. For the next 20 years, we don't see it being attempted. Why not? Why don't we assume that in 2 years another developer says, well, if I build another 3 stories and pay the city $150 million, I can cast more shadow?
I think in part his statement is based on this parcel of land. It's so desirable. But you're right. There's already wiggle room, by the way. You can cast shadows in the morning. You can cast them right before sunset. And if you're building in this neighborhood called the Midtown Cultural District, you can cast them for 2 hours during the day. So that's a lot of margins for any developer that wants a little more to nibble around.
The story's not over. Nice to see you, Adam.
Thanks, Jim.
I love this story, actually.